Hello, this is Benton Foreman, and in this video I'm going to talk in more detail about the traceroute command and what's actually going on when you're running it. So I'm going to go ahead and run a traceroute. I'm going to start right out in the command line this time. The traceroute command relies a lot on a couple of things that I want to mention. One is the time to live field in an internet protocol frame. So the time to live field is a number that gets assigned to a frame or a packet, and as the packet hops across routers, every single router decrements that number by 1. So if it started out at 10, when it goes through your default gateway it goes down to 9, when it goes to the next router 8, 765 down to either it gets to its destination or it hits 0. Now the router that has the packet when it hits 0 is going to drop the packet, so it's not going to forward it anymore, and it's going to send a message back to the originating device, and it's going to tell this is what they call a time exceeded message, and a time exceeded message is going to tell the original device when the message was received, when it was dropped, and it's going to use the originating device is going to use this message to calculate the round trip time, and on the message is going to be the IP address of the router that dropped the packet. So it's going to use both of those pieces of information to know how long it took, because it's going to send 3 packets. Each is going to have the same exact result, and it's going to tell it exactly where it went. So the first packet that a traceroute sends out, it sets a time to live of 1. And so it sends it to its very first router. The first router decrements it from a 1 to a 0. So when it hits a 0, it drops it, and it sends that time exceeded message back. And that's where we get these stats: 1 millisecond, 1 millisecond, 2 milliseconds from 192.168.11, which is of course my default gateway. Next, Traceroute is going to put another packet together, except for this one it's going to set a time to live of 2. So when it sends it out, it's going to hit the first router, which is going to decrement the time to live from 2 to 1. And when it gets to the second router, it's going to go from 1 to 0. So the second router is going to set it at 0, drop it, and it's going to send that time exceeded message back to the original machine, and that's where we're going to get these stats from. Again, now we see that it's off to Roadrunner at the 107.15.32.1 IP address. Next traceroute is going to send a time to live packet with 3, get those stats, 4 stats, 5, all the way up to 14. So at 14, it sends out a packet. The packet gets dropped. When it gets the message back, the IP address says 209.197.110.54, which, when DNS resolved durotech.edu when we first started the traceroute, it was 209.197.110.54. So it knows that it's gotten to its destination. So that's how traceroute uses the time to live field in an IP frame to get all of the information that it uses. Another thing that I want to talk about is a couple useful parameters that you can use with Traceroute. One of them, it doesn't have a lot, but if you want to pull them up, it's a little bit different with Traceroute because it tries to resolve via DNS. So if you want help, you're going to type traceroute space /? and the / tells it that it's a question as opposed to something that it needs to try to resolve to an IP address. So these are the parameters. The only ones I'm going to talk about are going to be -D, which says do not resolve addresses to host names, which is going to cut DNS out. So let me show you how fast that happens. -D. And as you'll see, it's going to be much quicker than the typical traceroute was. And the other traceroute parameter that you can use is going to be the -H, and what that's going to do is set a maximum number of hops. So you can say, I only want it to do 5 hops, or I only want it to do 10 hops, or you can set it for 100 hops, or however many you want to do. So with that, what you're going to do is go traceroute, and for speed's sake, I'm going to set the D so it does not go through DNS. Then you're going to do the -H, and we'll say 10. Then we're going to do www.durhamtech.edu. It resolves in DNS the first time, not after. It runs it, It's going to hit 10 hops, and that's going to be it. So that's the traceroute command in a little bit more detail, in addition to some details on a couple of the parameters that you can run with it. I hope that you guys have learned a lot. I've enjoyed doing this. Again, my name is Benton Foreman, and this is Traceroute in detail. Thank you.